percent in problem solving. So problem solving meaning, yes, they're going to be somewhat of word problems. Formulas to remember, there it is. There's the whole times percent equals part. Again, that comes from the part divided by whole. Okay? So a whole number, the total amount, multiplied by the percent equals the smaller amount, the part amount. Okay? The one thing about this is we never plug a percent in. We always have to change it to a decimal. Okay? So here, it says, what number is 12% of 40? So what we have to do is figure out what these are. Are they the whole? Are they the percent? Or are they the part? Okay, so 12. Is that the percent, the whole, or the part? I think it's pretty obviously the percent. Okay, again, we don't ever plug a percent in. We have to change it to a decimal. The way that you change it to a decimal is you move that decimal 2 to the left. If you are going to have a calculator, the other way to change it to a decimal is just divide it. So get your calculator and divide 12 divided by 100. That'll tell you what your percent will change to. It'll say 0.12. Okay, so that's the other way to do it. On percent problems, you will always have a calculator. So I would always just double check myself. Make sure, do the percent divided by 100. That's what percent means. If you're in science class with me, that's where centi comes from, right? Percent. So there is 100 of them. Okay? So percent means out of 100. Next, of 40. So what number is 12% of 40? So what do you think 40 is? Is it the total amount or the part? The whole. Okay, that usually means the whole amount. So of 40, because we're finding something that is of the 40. Okay, part of the 40. So the 40 is the whole amount. So we multiply those, and that gives us P, the part that we're looking for. What is 40 times 0.12, those of you with your calculators out? Okay, so P equals 4.8. Alright, so again, this one's a little quicker because it's set up exactly the same. We have a whole number, which is 50, multiplied by our percent, which is 0.18 equals P. What's 50 times 0.18? 50 times 0.18. What is it? 9. Okay, so 9 equals P. Okay, and remember, the percent problems will always be on the calculator portion. So you do not have to work them out. Okay, you do not have to try to multiply with them. If you would like to try to multiply with them, I would always check with a calculator if you have that opportunity. Okay? All right, the number 49.7 is what percent of 71? So, again, if we are talking about percents, I'm going to immediately write down this. Whole times percent equals part. So what numbers are we given? What is 49.7? The part. It's the smaller part of it. Okay, it might not always be smaller. Like if the percent's over 100%, then it might not be all the way smaller. But, so that is the part. I wrote it in the wrong spot, didn't I? So 71x equals 49.7. How do I get that x by itself? Divide, because it's being multiplied by 71, so we're going to divide by 71. Okay, so divide by 71, and you can see once we divide by 71, that's actually what we talked about at the beginning. Part divided by whole, right? So this will give us our percent. So what is 49.7 divided by 71? 0.7. Okay? And that's not 7%. Remember, when we changed it from a percent to a decimal, we moved it 2. So we also have to move it back 2. So 1, 2, that is 70%. The way that you can check that is multiplying it by 100. So if you have this, just take that decimal and multiply it by 100. I'm going to change that so you know it's not part of the problem. Okay, multiply that by 100, and that should make sure that you get the right thing. The most common answer in this, the most commonly wrong answer on this is 7%. Okay? That would be 0.07 would be 77%. Okay? Last one, the number 9.2 is 16% of what number? So I heard the word percent, so I'm going to write down whole times percent equals part. So 9.2, what is that? Whole, percent, or part? Part. Because again, this word of helps us out a lot. Of usually leads to the whole afterwards. So of what number multiplied by 0.16 equals 9.92. Divide both sides by that decimal. And because we are dividing by a decimal, it's actually going to get bigger, I believe. So 9.92 divided by 1.6 is what? 62? 6.2. Are we sure?
62. It's 62 because it gets bigger.
It should get bigger. Did you divide by 16 accidentally? Oh, okay. Yeah, so it should get bigger because remember, we're figuring out what the whole amount is. This is our part, so it should be smaller because this is a regular percentage. Again, if that was a 200%, stuff would change a little bit. Okay? All right, so those are, if you remember, just like last class, those easy ones at the beginning. Now we're going to put a little bit more words around them, but it's still going to follow that same process. Okay? And from what I remember, I think this one shows up on other stuff. So this might be a one that you might want to put a star next to or something. Okay, so circle graph on the right shows the uses of corn production. The corn production in 2006 and 2007 was 10,535 million. How many bushels were used to make ethanol? So over to the side, I see percentages written down. So when you see percentages, most of the time, you're going to go ahead and write that. Whole multiplied by percent equals the part. Okay, so let's look at what they gave us. They gave us this number. You think that's the whole, the total amount, or the part that we're talking about? Anybody know? Okay, let's answer a different question. What about the percent? What percent are we using?
18.
Why are we using 18? Because ethanol, right? So we're using 18%. Does this apply to the ethanol or does this apply to the whole thing? Whole thing. So that's our whole amount. So whole amount multiplied by our percent, which is 0.18, and that should give us the part that was used just for ethanol. So multiply those together, and that will give us P. Anyone got it? 1,896. 0.3? Okay, 0.3. Okay, keep in mind on my math lab, it does say the word million, but after the text box, it will say the word million. So you don't have to add a bunch of zeros after that, okay? So that's the number that you will type in. I think that's... Oh, so how my math lab might change it, because they always change the problems. They might ask about a different thing. Like it might not say ethanol, it might say food, seed, or other exports, or it might even say food, seed, other, and ethanol. So you'd have to add those together to get to your percent. Okay, so that's how it could change it, but it'll still look like this. All right, a used automobile dealership. So this is going to add one extra step afterwards. A used automobile dealership recently reduced the price of a used compact car by 10%. So they subtracted something. They reduced it. Okay, so that's where those keywords come in that we talked about last class. So that's minus at some point. If the price of the car before the discount was $18,300, find the discount and the new price. So we need to find both of those. So first I do see a percent. So we're going to write down whole multiplied by percent equals P. Okay, we have a percent, so let's change that to 0.1 or 0.10, just so we keep seeing that 10 in there. Okay, so the only other thing they gave us is this. Is that the whole amount of the car or the part that we took off? The whole. So that goes here, 18,300. Okay, if we multiply that, what does that give me? 1,830. That is the part that we took off. So that is the discount. So over here, there's going to be 2 boxes you'll fill in. But that is the discount that we took off. What does discount mean? Reduced, right? So and we also talked about reduced means minus. So that original price was reduced by this much. So to figure out our new price, we're going to take our original amount and we're going to subtract our discount. What does that get us for the new price? $14,470.
No,
16,470.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, that did not seem. 16,470. So there are the 2 answers for this. So you can see it just adds one extra step right there, kind of like last class when I said X is not always your answer. Right? So we always want to check to make sure we answer the problem. So P is not always your answer. P could be a step to get to your answer. They could only ask for the new price. They might not even ask for this part. Okay? But again, when you see a percent, that's what we want to just get right into, that whole times percent. Okay, 2 more. This one, let's see if you can figure it out. I don't think you can. See if anybody can prove me wrong. Okay, so let me explain it to you. Let me make sure you know why. So most people when they get this wrong, they get 60% because that is what X ends up solving for. But again, you have to go back and read your problem. Okay? So your problem is a percent problem, but it does say this. It says percent decrease. Okay? Percent decrease. So W multiplied by percent equals part. Okay, so the whole amount is 20. There is a different method to solving this, by the way, so you might do the other way. And we're trying to figure out the percent. And the part. So this is the part that can change on yours. I'm going to put 8 here. Some of you probably put 12. Okay? But it does say how much did it decrease. So this is not the part. This is the part left over. We want to know that the part that it decreased, how much was taken away. That's where the 8 comes from. Okay? The other way you can do it is solve this percent and then subtract that from 100, which a lot of you did. That's where you got 60. Some of you that got 60 and then went to 40 from there, that's where you could do it. Okay, so we divide both by 20. 8 divided by 20 gives us our 0.4, which is 40%. Okay, the way that you might have done it is you might have put the 12 here for the 8, and then 12 divided by 20 gives you 60, but 60 is what's left over. So the percent decrease would have been the 40 that was taken away. Okay, so there's 2 methods to solving that, but both of them get you to the same answer. Everyone understand why that's 40 and not 60?
Yes.
Okay? Because of this word decrease. That's what throws people off. If it's a percent increase going from here to here, you'd still use 8 because that's what you're increasing. Okay? All right, last one. There are a lot more words around this. The number of Supreme Court decisions has been decreasing for years. During 2005 and 2006, 177 decisions were announced. This is a 43.9% decrease. So it uses that word again. So we got to be careful. From the number of decisions announced in 82 and 83. How many decisions were announced in 82 and 83? So we see a percent. So let's write this down just in case. Whole times percent equals P. We know that our percent is 43.9, but that is a percentage. We need to change that. Move this decimal over 2, or just divide it by 100. So 0.439 goes here. Okay, next is that 177. That is our only other number in this. Do we think that is the part or the whole amount? Okay, that is the part. Because again, decreasing, we took it down to this. Okay, it was something bigger. We took it down to this. Okay, so we have part of it left over, and we're trying to figure out what the whole amount is. So divide both sides by 0.439. 0.439. Need some help on this, calculators? Okay, 403.189, so let's round that up to 9. Okay, 403.19. We're not going to have 0.19 of a decision, so let's change that to 403. Okay, and let's make sure it makes sense. How many decisions were announced this year? So if we had this much, and we decreased it almost half, does that get us to 177? No. So what do we need to do? What's wrong about that?
No, it gets us there.
It does?
It's just like that around
Okay, then we're good. Okay, so we're good. 403 is your answer. So just make sure it makes sense. Okay, again, 43 is almost half, so that's what we want to think about.